Good morning. I'm Clifford Paul Barnes, and I was born on August the 29th, 1929. And we're located here in the Barnes Clement Cemetery. This is a farm that's been here, we think, since about 1832. And everyone who's owned this farm is buried here. Mr. Sanders drew the land lot numbers from different people and accumulated that. And Bishop Clements came here in 1832 with his bride from over in Milledgeville and established a farm. They had 9 children, 3 of whom are buried here. And they were the owners of the plantation. It was about 1,000 acres. During the years preceding and through the Civil War, and the Civil War had a great effect on this farm. 2 of their sons were killed, and we've got a monument to them that here in the cemetery, and 2 others. One was killed at the battle in the Wilderness, and the other was killed at Gettysburg. But my grandmother was Bishop Clements and Sally Clements' youngest daughter, and she married John Monroe Barnes from over in Harris County, and they're both buried here. I'd like to give you a picture of the founding of this place. My great-grandparents, who are buried here, came from Milledgeville. She was the daughter of a judge, and when he died in those days, in around early 1830s and late 1820s, I think that perhaps the girls, the females in the family, didn't share in the proceeds of the will as much as the sons did. And she married Bishop, and they came here to this farm. I have never been able to find the exact documents that carried from Mr. William Sanders, who was the first owner of the farm, to my great-grandparent, Bishop Clements. However, he was the executor of Mr. Sanders' estate. So it perhaps was sold at the steps of the courthouse or something like that. But he came into this and established really it was a plantation here, about 1,000 acres. And he had, I looked at the census of 1860, and there were about 100 slaves that worked this farm in those days. And the Civil War, of course, had a great effect on them. In 1932, when my grandfather passed away, my grandmother had predeceased him, so my grandfather was the owner and held a estate. My uncle Clements was the executor of the estate, and there was some discussion or some decision to be made about the farm. And my Uncle Clements, I still have a letter that he wrote that he said other people would put the farm up for sale and divide the proceeds among the siblings, but he says that's our family. We're not going to do that, because he said, and I have a letter that says to me, this is hallowed ground. And he left the farm to my dad, who had come back from World War I, and he felt that my father was the most responsible one to make sure the farm goes on. And his thoughts on that were borne out in that my dad did take care of the farm. It was some tough times, the Depression era, the boll weevil just about wiped out the cotton, and that's when my dad and his brother went into partnership and formed the Barnes Brothers Dairy, which is between here and Warm Springs, and furnished pasteurized milk. But my dad was he worked constantly. We never, vacations were not part of the picture when we were growing up. When you have a dairy, people say you should have a dairy or a restaurant once in your life to see what real work is all about. But my dad delivered milk. His brother was in the producing part of it, ran the milking parlor, and my dad delivered milk all over Warm Springs, Manchester, and of course our best customer was the Institute, because we pasteurized the milk, and it was thought in those early days before the Salk vaccine that the polio might be carried in raw milk. So pasteurized milk was an item that was much in demand, and really was the thing that brought us out of the Depression.